Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Becky from RJF Makes, and if you're watching me for the first time, hi! Right, so this is the part 3 of the Adventure Big Brother bag, which is a free pattern and it's a digital download from a Facebook group that I manage with some of my admin. This is also a YouTube live, so we will be having a chit chat because there will be people commenting. Please throw us a comment, let us know if you can hear us, if you can see us, whatever. Tell us where you're coming from or wherever. When I say we, my husband's here as well, operating the cameras. So basically, if you are wanting to know what I'm doing, ask a question in the comments because it'll easily pop up for me. I'm just going to get the comments up now, so just bear with me. And then I'll just basically talk to you what's going on. Right. Okay, there's comments. Right, hi Jill. I know there's 10 of you watching, so please say hi. The more interaction, the better. Hi Princess. Princess is one of my admin. She's one of my moderators, so please say hi to Princess in the comments. Right, okay, so the Big Brother Adventure backpack we're on the last few steps. We've been going on it for how many weeks? 6 weeks. And basically it's a free pattern. You have to be a member of Facebook to actually get this free pattern. To get the free pattern you need to go to RJF Makes pattern support group. Answer the few questions if you're not already a member of the group. Answer the few questions that we ask as admin. And then basically we will let you in, and then to find that actual pattern is 2 files. You need to go up to the file section at the top of the Facebook group, and the first file is the words and the pictures, which helps, and then basically there is the actual templates as well at the back. You can easily print it off on your computer, and all you have to do is print it off at either 100% or actual size. Let me just see if there's any questions so far. Hi. Jill, missing the keyboard, missed the hi part. Hi. Right, okay. Hi Angie, and there is other people. It's going quite fast now, so I'm going to leave that to Princess, and then if there's any comments, Michael will actually, if there's any questions, Michael will go, Becky, there's a question, you might need to find it. So Michael, please may you bring up the little box, please. He's eaten already. He's eaten the chocolate bar. Right, so if you're new to my channel and you like the content of this video, please click the subscribe button and notification bell. And basically the notification bell will basically send you notifications of when I'm next live, or when the next sew along is, or whenever I upload a video basically. Any subscribers help with me. Thanks Michael. He's licking his fingers now. He's eating chocolate. Right, okay, so far we have got the front of the bag and most of the inner section done, and we have done the outer of the bag. Now obviously, because some of you will notice there is a zip pocket here. There is a second zip pocket. I'm going to teach you how to do the second zip pocket. It's the same implementation as this one, so I'm not going to repeat myself twice. One thing you will need to do is this video, and in the description is 2 links. The link is one on how to make your bias binding. That will revert back to a second video which basically teaches you how to make bias binding. Obviously I'm not going to teach that because I already have a video. And then the second one is on how to make your crossbody straps, or your, in this case, shoulder straps. So right, okay, please may we go to the overhead camera please, Michael. So you would have already downloaded this. We're on section 3 now, so I'm just going to carry on where we left off. So where we left off last time was actually implementing the complete front to the actual zip gusset here, and then we added the I've personally added the binding already on this part, so that's finished on this. However, I'm going to show you how to do that anyway on the back part. Now on the back part, I've already added the zip pocket to save time, but it's going to be the same zip pocket implementing on the actual lining on the eye piece of the lining for this side anyway. So like I say, I'm not going to repeat myself. However, the only difference is with the lining, we need to measure down and then add the lining pocket. But with the lining pocket of this one, we measured up. So you have to measure 7 inches up, then add the lining. So you would have added the lining here. Then you would have drawn your box and then sewn around it. But it's the same implementation as what we are about to do now. So we are going from page dun, 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 making the lining, and we're going to go into this section here, step 1. So step 1 is basically implementing the inside zip pocket. Right, so has anybody started making it yet? Because I'd like to know. I know Margaret Cooper in the Facebook group has posted how far she's got up to. She's actually really far into it actually. Right, okay. Just getting myself set up. Right, okay, so you're going to need your number 3 zip. I've just got a continuous number 3 zip, cut it down to the length of what the pattern actually says, and added my zip pull. Now if you're confused on how to add a zip pull, or if you're new to adding your own zip pulls, there is an actual video on my YouTube channel, and at the end of the video I will actually drop a link for that as well. Okay, so we're going to find the centre top and the centre bottom of the eye piece, which is the lining body piece. So I'm just going to fold that in half and then just snip into those, that top and the bottom. Okay, so that's found my centre top and the centre bottom, and then we need to find the centre top and the bottom of the zip pocket lining piece. So I'm going to fold that in half. Now on both of these pieces I have got woven interfacing called Fuse It, which you can buy from my website, or it can just be any form of medium weight interfacing, as long as it's a medium weight interfacing. Hi Becky and all, sorry I can't stay and watch. Oh, that's fine, that's fine. Hope you got all your kits, and I know your dog's not very well, so I've chosen my fabric, I printed out and cut out the pattern pieces. Does that count? Yes, it does count, Jill. Yeah, the intention's there. Right, let me just get my quilter's rule. Okay, so I'm going to measure down 1.5 inches from the centre top part, and okay, make sure you've got it straight on the quilter's rule, so it's matching up to a line on the quilter's rule. Then we're going to get the actual pocket lining, and we're going to pop that right side facing down. My number 6 on my quilter's rule is generally my centre of where the centre top is, so obviously I'm going to match it up to the centre of the actual pocket lining, and then I'm just going to pin it into place, flat pins. Okay. Now from my lining top of my zip pocket, is that straight? Yeah, it is straight. I'll tell you why it's throwing me off is because my interfacing actually doesn't come up as far as what the actual pocket lining is, so it looks like it's on at an angle, but it isn't. Right, so I'm going to measure down from my lining top down 1 inch, and I'm going to draw a 6-inch line. So I'm going to measure down. So there's my number 6, which is my centre. I'm going to measure down 1 inch from my lining top of my zip, lining down 1 inch, and I'm going to draw 3 inches on this half and then 3 inches over on this half, so that'll give me 6 inches. Then from that line there, I'm going to draw down 3/8 of an inch. Sorry, I got better clear. I don't know if anybody has this problem with quilters' rules. After so many years, the markings tend to fade away. So you have to try and find the next set of markings that actually work for you. Right, so you're measuring down 3/8 of an inch, and then you're drawing another 6 inch line. Then you're just going to join those 2 lines together to make a rectangle box. Then you need to measure in from those two short lines in by 1/2 inch and draw another line on each side. And then we're going to just estimate where the centre is of there. So I've drawn a centre line. Now from that centre point to that point now, we're going to draw a diagonal line, and then from that centre point there to that point now, I'm going to draw another one, and then do the same on this one. Okay, I'm going to add in another pin down here to be on the safe side so it doesn't move around on my sewing machine. Oh, that's okay, Maureen. You're Mo on here. You're Maureen in the club. Right, okay, so I'm going to go to my sewing machine. Standard stitch length of a 2.5. I've got Scanfill threading, which is basically a brand that I sell. It's a polyester thread. I've got a size 16, no, I've actually got a size 14 needle in my machine because I've been doing a bit of quilting. So I've got a size 14 needle in my sewing machine. And then I'm basically just going to stitch on the outer rectangle line. I'm not going to stitch anywhere in that centre part here. I'm going to make sure I reverse my stitch at the start and at the end. Please, want to go to the front view camera, please, Michael? Thank you. So I get quite a lot of questions asked about the machine that I'm using. I'm using basically a home domestic machine. However, it is one of the most expensive home domestic machines. I don't know if you can see, there's a machine in the background above the pink chair. I've sewn this bag on that domestic machine over there. It can be done. It can be done on any home domestic machines as long as you don't overload in the bulk area, because some people do say, oh, it's my machine's not coping. It could be several things. Is the fact that you've not got the correct needle in. So if you've got a size 14 needle, up it to a bigger needle eye or a stronger needle. So put in a size 16 needle, not a leather one. Make sure it's a jean one, because jeans are bulky anyway. The like winter jeans can be up to 12 ounce denier, so it means that there is a lot of bulk in the seam. So if you upgrade the needle to a jean and a size 16, you'll easily find that your machine will want to go through bulk. Also, you might want to invest in a walking foot. So I don't know if I've got a walking foot here. So a walking foot is basically on the feed dogs at the bottom. You've got a jagged edge where your fabric goes through. Now a walking foot has those jagged edges on top as well, and what it does is grabs your fabric and pulls it through. That helps also with the bulk. Or if you've got a machine that can change the pressure, so that's how much the pressure foot pushes down onto the actual fabric. If you can decrease the pressure, then that means that you can do it on a domestic machine. A lot of people have been asking me, do I need an industrial machine to actually make bags? The answer is no, you don't. So I'm actually using an Elna 780 Plus. Yes, it is one of the expensive ones. It's reason why I've got this is because I need more light to be able to see and a bigger throat space here. That's all. However, it is a nice dream machine. Right, okay, so I've got my walking foot on, my size 14 needle, and I'm just going to reverse my stitch at the start. My stitch length is 2.4, but that varies per machine. And I'm making sure my needle is down when I go around that corner. The only time I don't use my walking foot is if I'm putting a zip into a gusset. So a gusset is that zip there going around, not the zip that I'm implementing now at this present moment. Right, I've made a boo-boo and I'll show you what my boo-boo is then. We all make them. Please remember to go to the overhead camera, please, Michael. Thank you. Thanks. Right, so I'll show you where my boo-boo is, and I wasn't concentrating, so it might be best if you concentrate when you're actually putting it. So I've sewn all the way around, but however I should have stopped sewing and sewn down that line there. However, I went just over 1/8 of an inch over. If it's 1/8 of an inch, don't worry about it. However, you got to actually, where the diagonal lines are, you got to make sure you snip up to that sewn line up there. So if I show you what the next step is, then I'll explain why you've got to cut all the way up to there. So that centre line there, we need to cut a hole. I generally just grab my rotary cutter and just cut a little hole. I'm not going anywhere past those two vertical lines here. Oh, right, so this is called thread. So I don't know if anybody's actually noticed, I can't say cotton spool thread. Fred. I can't say Fred properly, so I've nicknamed him Fred. So this is Fred. I have actually got some of these on order and coming into the actual shop. So right, so I've cut a hole, I've gone all the way through to this side here, and now I'm going to snip to the peak of that triangle, and then I'm going to go over to this one here. So first of all, I'm going to start off with this one here. I've got my sewn line here. We don't want to cut it into the stitches, we're just going to snip up to that sewn line as close as you can get it. Might be best investing into some quite sharp embroidery scissors like I'm using here, because you tend to find you can get as quite close as possible to that sewn line. Right, so my sewn line has moved because I wasn't concentrating. So I'm just going to snip just a bit past that vertical line that we drew originally and snip into that corner there. And then I'm just going to do the same with this one. Okay, so you need your iron and you need it on, which does help. I've got my little iron out today because I've been quilting. Okay, so first of all, you need to tease this pocket lining through to the back of this lining here. So we're going to do a few things first. I like to press it so it helps make sure that it goes through correctly. So I'm going to crease it there and there, and then I'm just going to do the sides as well. Just gives it a little bit of help. Let's turn that down now. Okay, and then I'm just going to basically pass this lining through to the back of this body lining piece, and we want the whole thing to come through to the back. just move that out of the way because I burnt myself the other day. Okay, so I've popped that through to the back of the actual lining. You do want to press from this side at the end, but from starting off you don't press from this side, you press from this side here. Now the first thing you need to look at before you go ahead and carry on pressing is if you've got any major creases down this part here. Now if you've got major creases, these creases that I've got here will disappear. Now if you've got some major creases here, you need to pop that lining back through to this side here. And you know, when we cut into the actual two corners on each side, you just need to snip it slightly a bit more because you haven't gone all the way to the stitch line. However, this should be fine. If you get creases on the reverse side, which is on this side here, don't stress, it's fine, it's in the pocket, it's hidden. You shouldn't really get any creases, but I know I will get creases. I always do, always do. Just turn that down. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to press that top, and you should have a nice crisp finish. I like to spritz it with a bit of Best Press and just to give that a really nice finish. It doesn't have to be Best Press, but I just like the smell of Best Press. Okay, and then you're going to flip that over. Yeah, Stuart likes his zips, doesn't he? Zip pockets as well. He was. We had a right natter when I was on the channel with him the other day. Okay, so I've got only little creases there. Sometimes I get major creases on this side, on the wrong side, but to be fair, I'm not 100% bothered when it comes to creases on this side here. Right, so you just need to let that cool down. So I'll move that out of the way. You need that to let cool down. Right, so we're going to work on this side here and work with some quilter's tape. So quilter's tape is a double-sided sticky tape that is actually friendly for your sewing machine. My advice is do not use normal sticky tape, double-sided sticky tape, when it comes to your sewing machine, because your needle will get gunked up and then the glue residue will actually go into your mechanisms at the bottom, and then when you take it for a service you will get a proper telling off. How do I know? Because I've been there and done that. Right, okay, so right, I've got the slow cooker on. Oh Dawn, what are you cooking? Right, so I've basically got quilter's tape. It's double-sided. I'm just going to pop some quilter's tape on the top and the bottom. Like so. Okay. Because this is quite super sticky quilter's tape, I'm just burnishing the ends so I can get the actual backing tape off. So peel off that backing tape and you should be left with the sticky part of the tape. And then you're going to get your zip. Now you might want to pre-shrink your zips. Yes, as you can see I've got a few wavy lines on mine. I don't know if you can see, but mine isn't actually straight. So while the iron is hot, turn it upside down and pop some steam on it if you can, and by doing this it shrinks it. So if you've got one of these bag gussets here, this zip going all the way around, and you find that it's wavy, You need to shrink your zip. You need to actually just give it a quick iron and shrink it. Right, so I'm making sure, that's a noisy car, sorry about that. Right, make sure your zip pull is in the center, and you're just going to pop this right side facing up and wrong side to the zip. Make sure that zip coil is in the center and stick that down. You got zip overhang here either side, don't stress about that, we're going to cut it off. Okay, so you're going to sew 1/8 of an inch all the way around and reverse your stitch at the start and at the end. I'm going to knock my stitch length up to a top stitch length, which is a 3.5, and you might need to move your zip pull out the way as you go along. I tend to like to start at the bottom here because that's the least place that people actually see, especially in a crossbody bag. Please may we go to the front view camera. You were falling off the chair then. Now I haven't got matching thread. Takes the mick out of me. I haven't got matching thread to my lining, so you're going to notice my imperfections and stuff. So make sure your needle is down when you pivot. I'm just going to get rid of that piece of thread there. Right, so I'm coming where the zip pull is, so I'm just going to move it out of the way. Might need to hook something in it if you've got a really high presser foot that can lift up high. This machine hasn't, so I'm just going to move it out of the way the best I can. There we go. Oh my, this is so not very good top stitching, this isn't for me. Lucky this bag's going to be a sample bag. Please may we go to the overhead camera. Thank you. Right, so I've top stitched all the way around. As you can see, very poor stitching, but it does. Right, okay, I'm going to flip this over, and then what I need to do is get this zip out of this seam area here. So I'm going to get some old scissors or not fabric scissors and cut this zip out of the way. Okay. Hey, Lynn's in the house. Lynn is my second moderator and my husband's my third, and then I've obviously got other moderators who might pop in. Right, so I've pulled my zip pull into the centre, and then basically just going to close this up. So I'm going to bring up this part here up to this part here, and then I'm going to get my finger underneath and then just pin those two layers. I am not pinning this layer here, I'm just pinning the two layers of the zip pocket lining. Then do the same on this one, and then just knock a pin on this part here, obviously not pinning, finger crease that. Who was affected by the winds? We went shopping today, obviously, because I'm getting ready. I'm taking 8 weeks off from Sewing Street after next week, and I've got quite a lot of things to do around the house. See, places need decorating, places need doing up. So I went out and bought some upholstery stuff for this chair that I'm doing up. Need a new chair, it's broken. Michael just said, "This is how tight." Can we go to the front view camera, please? Right, so this is how tight I get. Michael says we need a new chair, and I'm saying, no we don't. I can do it up. And Michael's going, no, we need a new chair. No, I basically went over his head today and brought all the stuff to upholster this chair. I'm taking some time to myself because obviously I do a lot for... No, my dad's told me how to fix that. See, cheapskate, I get that from my dad. That's the proper Geordie in me, that is. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do is when I... Please may we go to the overhead camera, please. Thank you. Right, so when I go to the sewing machine, I'm going to sew from this side. However, I'm going to start off on the folded side here and sew all the way down to here. I'm going to reverse my stitch at the start, put my needle down, then I'm going to bring up this part here and then sew it along here, then pop my needle down and then basically sew down here and reverse my stitch. Now you're not sewing this part, you're only sewing those bits that you've pinned. Please may we go to the overhead camera, front view camera.
The other one.
The other one. Right, it doesn't matter if you can't stick to a 3/8 of an inch seam length. You can stick to 1/4 of an inch, which is 1/4 of an inch. It's totally up to you. However, you won't get anything bigger than 3/8 of an inch. Make sure you move your needles as you go, your pins. You just basically don't want no holes in that pocket. We are looking to invest in a sewing machine camera. However, I tried a web camera this morning and it was flickering, so I definitely need to invest in a proper expensive camera. So it is coming, don't worry about that. Please may we go to the overhead camera. Oh yeah, overhead camera. The other one. Keep that zip pull in the centre just in case you don't want it on the actual part where we're going to join the lining and you don't want to have to sew over it, and I do that, then I always end up costing more. Yeah, Angie, I just want the challenge. I just want something new. I just want... Michael's laughing at me here. I just want something new to do.
To do? You don't want something new?
No, I just want something... I want the challenge. Because I've conquered a few things over the last year, so I want to conquer something new. Right, okay, so I've got my back of the bag. Right, so implementing this zip here is the same as implementing this zip. However, we measured down on this one, but you have to measure up on this one, and you're only measuring up 7 inches. Then you put your lining, zip lining down at the 7-inch mark, then you measure down. This pocket is intended to, if you're not wanting to have it as a backpack, it's intended to just carry one of your straps in there for you. Right, so we're going to pop that so it's wrong side facing up, and then we are going to pop this wrong side facing down, and we're going to marry up all the edges. So we're going to pop the 2 centre halves together, like so, and then the 2 centre halves. Now you might find that it might have stretched or might be cut too big. Mine's not cut too big, it's just you've got to pull the bottom bit a bit. That's it. Then you're just going to clip all the way around. Yeah, because Angie, I know you've got an embroidery sewing machine now, haven't you? So it means that you are learning something new. Yeah, I just need to accomplish something new. We all get that itch. Well, I like to hope so. I don't want to be the only one. Right, so I'm just clipping all the way around, matching up all the edges. Okay, so knocking my stitch length up to a number 5, I'm going to sew 1/4 inch all the way around. So I'm basically attaching the green piece, the lining piece, to the main outer bag. When I get to the handle area, I'm just going to move the handle out of the way and go all the way around. So that's 1/4 inch away from the edge. I'm going to knock my stitch length up to a number 5, but it'll be the longest stitch length that your machine can actually do. Please maybe go to the front view camera, please, Michael. Got to remember to drink. Right, so that's 1/4 inch away from the edge. Knocking my stitch length up to a number 5. Okay, and then I'm just going to reverse my stitch at the start and at the end. Right, so I'm coming up to where the handle is. I'm just going to push it out of the way and keep going around. Okay, please may I go to the overhead camera. Thank you. Right, so I've gone all the way around. We're going to get the bag now that we completed on the front. Going to make sure it's wrong side facing out. As you can see, I've attached the binding on this part of the bag, which we will do on this side anyway. First of all, you need to make sure the main zip gusset is slightly open so you can be able to get your hand in. I also get this handle here and poke that out the top here so it doesn't get in your way. Right, so we're going to pop this so it's right side facing inwards. We're going to match up those centre marks that we've marked already. So you've already got a centre mark on the base and a centre mark on the top gusset. Okay, so we're going to match up those first. Sorry if you can hear the traffic. We've actually got traffic light outside our apartment at the moment. So, once again. Right, so we're going to clip along this top edge here first to the point where you get to the corners. And on this side. Okay, and then you're going to go across the bottom straight edge. Make sure everything's lying flat. Yeah, Angie, I totally agree. Even though I like my quilting and I'm going to be teaching a bit more quilting, excuse me, the embroidery machine and the bag making is definitely an addiction. Right, okay, so I'm just going to show you this bit here. This bottom part of the actual main outer front matches up with this edge gusset here. So if you match up those points there on this side, And then same with this one here. Okay, so then you're just going to clip around those two bottom corners. Now it should fit in neat and perfectly. If it doesn't, if you feel some creases here, just give a little snip into the seam allowance of the gusset. So that's the base gusset here. So I'm just going to snip a few snips just so it goes. That's not liking that. They've gone blunt. I know why. Okay. And there. Right, okay, so that should go in. Yeah, that's gone in a lot neater now. So you're going to add quite a lot of clips in there. I did get the question, can you make this out of PU? Now if you're not English, you won't know what PU is. PU is what Americans call and Australians call vinyl. Yes and no. Yes, if you've made bags before, go ahead, use PU. If you know your machine can, go ahead and do it. If you are a complete novice at bag making, make it first in cotton, like I am here. It just means that you know what your machine can cope with. Then once you know if your machine can cope with it, then go ahead, do certain parts in PU. So add the base as PU, not the handles of course, because we have to roll them, but certain parts of the bag add as PU. And then if your machine completely copes with that, try complete PU one. Same with cork, and obviously what the Americans and Australians call it vinyl. Right, so I'm just clipping round. Let's do that. But I must admit, I do like the look of PU and normal fabric together. Don't know why. I think it's what I've just grown up around when bag making, because I've been bag making for so many years now. Right, as you can see, I'm adding quite a lot of clips around the corner. That's a must, because you may find that they will come out or pop off. And then basically if you've got a clip quite close, it means that you've got a second saviour. A second clip to save the day. Right, I'm there. Right, so I need to undo this now, because it means that I can squash the bag when I've got it in my sewing machine. The reason why I have it done up is so the bag can get its structure. But once you've got all the clips on, it means that you can undo the bag completely. Right, okay, so I'm going to go back to my sewing machine. I'm going to sew from this side. I'm going to smoosh this out of the way. Don't be worried about creases or anything. And I'm going to stitch all the way around. Bless you, Michael. I'm going to stitch all the way around. I'm going to stitch 3/8 of an inch away, making sure my stitch length is at a standard stitch length, which is a 2.5. I'm going to go all the way around, reverse my stitch at the start and at the end. Always start on a long straight when you're actually going around the complete bag. The reason why I say that is for the fact that build up to the stressful corners. Corners are not stressful, but people seem to think they're stressful. If you've got a tailor's awl, when you go around the corner, have it handy in your hand when you're going round. Smoosh this down, and then if you get any odd creases or bumps, you can push down the Taylorsall on those bumps to go around that corner. Please may we go onto the main camera, please. Right, so I'm knocking my stitch length down to a 2.4. Now you could, when you get into those corners, knock it down to a stitch length 2.2 or 2.1 or 2, and then once you've gone past that corner you can actually crank up the stitch length again and basically stitch all the way around. Now if you've got an extension table, put the extension table on. Obviously because my overhead camera's here I can't put the extension table on, so if you've got an extension table put it on, because it obviously won't overhang like this one is doing. Right, so I've got a few bumps. Before I take that clip out, I'm going to pop my Taylorsall on that bump and then take that clip out and then go around that corner. Just do a few more stitches. Okay. Don't sew over the Taylorsall because you might have needles flying at you, because it will snap and the needle, snap the needle. Okay. And as you can see I'm just moving the gusset and just doing a small bit at a time. You don't need to rush. If you need to, get your hand up inside before you start sewing. Don't sew when your hand's inside, but just to make it all lie flat. Oops, clip went flying. Now when I come to that actual corner at the bottom, I will knock down my stitch length. So I'm knocking my stitch length down to a 2. So it means that I can have more control going around that corner. Because the bottom corners, I don't know if anybody's noticed when they've been cutting out, they are slightly tighter corners. And I'll take it nice and slow. Get rid of that little bump. Knock my stitch length back up to a standard stitch length until I get to the next bottom corner. Right, so knock it back down again. And then just go around that corner. Knock those bumps out the way with the Taylorsall, and you're on the home stretch now. Knock that back up. Thought you'd fallen off then, Michael. And then reverse your stitch at the end. Okay. Please want to go to the overhead camera. Thank you. Right, okay, so I've gone all the way around. Make sure you've gone and cut all the seams, which I have. If you've got any overhang, this is the point where you need to, I've got a little bit of overhang there, I'm going to trim that off. So, okay. Okay, and then I've got a little bit of an overhang there. Okay. I'm happy with that. First of all, before we pop the binding on, we need to turn it right side facing out so we know we've caught all the seam. Yeah, I know it's dinner time, so I know a lot of people actually have dinner around about now. So honestly, these videos stay up within the YouTube. Right, so just make sure you go round, poking out those corners to make sure you've caught all the seams. And then if you're happy with it, the way it's looking, you can turn it the wrong side facing back out again, and then we're going to add the binding. So binding, you can hand sew it at the end if you want to. I'm going to machine sew both. But hand sewing is a bit like when you have sewn it on the, with the machine, and then when you come to close the binding, you can hand sew it like a quilter's binding. So you do like a little stitch every 1/4 of an inch. But I'm going to machine bind it because I'm being a bit lazy. Right, okay, so thank you, Lynn. Right, okay, so the binding needs to go on the gusset side rather than the actual, this part here. So when we first add the binding, it needs to go on this side. So your binding is double folded, and I explained this in the video. Now what I don't explain in the video is, once I've sewn all my strips together, I actually literally saturate it in best press. Because I'm always getting asked how come my binding is quite crisp, and that's the reason being is I actually just soak it completely in best press. I don't iron it. I leave it on my wool cutting mat for about ½ an hour to soak it in, and then I go back to my cutting mat, my wool mat, and then iron those seams open, so the joining seams, like we've got a joining seam here. I iron those open, and then I do all the pressing and the folding that is needed to make it for the binding that you need for that specific bag. Now that's a personal choice. I do that with my quilts, and it's worked for me for many years, and I mean many years. My mum taught me that basically, so thanks Mum. Right, okay, so I've got it folded here. I'm going to open it up slightly, and then I'm going to get this corner here and bring it down and basically fold and press that. So I've kind of done a fold already, but I'm just going to finger press it. So it should look like this here. I'm going to start off on the base part of the bag. Let's turn it around so it faces me. Then you're going to open up this one part of the actual binding here, and you're going to clip that to the bag. Okay, so I prefer my binding to actually slightly overhang. Just means that there's a bit more body when the binding covers it. Would any starch do? I'll show you my other starch. Not a lot of people like this starch because it has actually got a potato residue in it. I use this one. I use this on when I've sewed my blocks and my quilts together. I actually spray it again in starch. Before I cut my fabric for a quilt, I spray it with this starch, not best press or flatter. It's personal preference. A lot of people don't like this type of starch, however I do. I don't mind this type of starch. It's what we didn't have best press in 20 odd years ago when I first started. Can you move the bag up slightly? I will try, Lynn. I will try. Oh, Princess, sorry. I will try. But this starch is great. However, it is a solvent, so you need to open the window when you use it. Okay, so here I've got a little overhang here. I've done that for a reason, is when you actually fold this over and fold that over, it adds a little bit of body in there. So it means that the binding isn't moving around much. So where that ditch is, that seam, that crease, it should actually fall where your sew line is here. So I'm just going to clip this all the way around. So how I've started off is I've kept it folded but opened up the bottom seam here, the bottom crease of the binding. And I'm just going to go all the way around. Not if you spray it so close. So yeah, I know what you're talking about, Lynn. Right, so there is some starches out there that does actually go quite shiny. So yeah, if you spray that one, so it's like the spray cans here. I'll do it with this spritzer bowl. If you're spraying it so close, you're going to get shininess. If you spray it at a 16 centimetre height or 10 inches height, you shouldn't get a actual sheen to it. I say shouldn't, it depending on the starch. But that starch that I just showed you doesn't, Best Press doesn't. However, with Best Press you do really have to soak the whatever you're using, whatever you're starching. Now I know a lot of quilters don't like starch, but back in the day we used to starch practically everything on quilts. And I do that with bag making as well. So before I even cut the fabric, I starch the fabric. Then I put my steam on my iron, so all the shrinkness has already happened. And that's the shrinking of the fabric, because you do get shrinkage of the fabric, not as much as what you used to on cotton weight fabric because of the dyes have got better. However, I do actually steam all my fabric and Best Press or flatter, depending on what I've got to hand. And in quilting, I don't actually have the steam on my iron, but I use a spritzer bottle, and it's got like a little pump, so it actually does a mist rather than a spray. Right, so coming to the last corner. How I'm feeling is making sure that goes in the right position is you can feel where those stitches are, because there's like a dip in the actual gusset. Have you, Sharon? Yeah, my mum used to do that. My mum used to make a lot of clothes, and she used to use a lot of starch on pleats as well. Right, okay, so I've got to where the starting is of the actual binding here. I'm going to overlap this binding for approximately about 2 inches, 3 inches over. I'm just going to remove that clip here, pop this binding down, and then pop this back on, and then the same with that clip there. Okay, so in the pattern you will have some left over. It might not be as much as this, but I tend to sew binding together to make scrappy binding. Okay, so we're going to sew all the way around in this crease area here. I'm going to use a stitch length number 2.4 all the way around, and I'm only sewing in the little crease. Where's my tailor saw? I'm only sewing in this crease here. I'm not sewing any more over on this part or any more over on this part. It just has to be all the way along this crease. Make sure you reverse your stitch at the start and at the end. And I always start just off from this straight edge here where I've cut, so I start off around about here. Please may we go to the front view camera. Thank you. Sorry. Right, okay, so make sure you squash the bag out of the way. We can stuff it out afterwards and basically press it. It's another good reason, if you are conscious about how it looks afterwards, do it in cotton fabric, because you can always stuff it out with towels, get an iron and then press it, which I will kind of do. And sorry Michael, while we're on this front view camera, please may you go and get me a bath towel. Can you go and get me a bath towel please? I don't need a bath, not yet anyway, but so I can stuff this bag out, or actually some bubble wrap or something from out of Curtis's room. Thank you. Thank you. You can step over that, it's not that high. He doesn't want to come on camera still. Oh, Michael, you know you wanna. Right, so I'm making sure my needle is down when I go around the corners. Keep smooshing it out of the way. And make sure you're only sewing in that crease. Yeah, that's great. That one I do. Thank you. Thank you. Right, so just make sure you're taking your time, sewing the best you can within that crease. You might go off, I have, but it's fine, it's inside the bag. Make sure you lift your presser foot if it doesn't automatically pop up when you take your foot off the presser foot, so you can adjust underneath. Now some people have been asking what do I waterproof my bags with. I'm going to show you that at the end, because you can't take this type of cotton bag outside in the rain, especially this time of the year. But however, if you get it muddy, don't put it in the washing machine because it's got H640 in it. And also don't put it in the washing machine because you've got waterproof protector on it. What you need to do is just get a damp cloth, and a soft damp cloth, and wipe it as the best you can, because bags do get dirty. go to the overhead camera, please, Uncle? Thank you very much. Okay. So I've stitched all the way around on that on that crease. And then what we're going to do is bring that binding up. So I'm going to pop it all the way up, over, and then we're going to clip, starting off at the bottom. So your bottom bit should have a nice little diagonal. And if you're like me, where you've got a bit of overhang here, just tuck that binding in under, so it folds over like this here, and then you're just going to bring that over. Right, so the edge of the binding should be where your stitch line is, or just slightly past it. And you should go all the way around, like so. Now, however, it's adamant you're going to get 2 folds at the bottom on the 2 corners. It's because they're so sharp corners. So what you need to do is pull it here, keep your finger down, then you're just going to pleat it. And all I've done is a little 45-degree pleat here, which is a mitre in quilting terms. So you will get 2 pleats on the 2 bottom corners. So I'm going to pop a clip there. And then just carry on clipping around. What's the difference of the pivot feature compared to just lifting the foot? Right, so Princess, I actually honestly had this conversation with myself. Do I need that pivot thing? Yes, it frees up your hand. Now Lynn will answer this question for me because she's got this pivot thing. It frees up that hand. It means that you can hold your tailors all in your hand. It means that you can control. I don't know, it's been a game changer for me, that has. What Princess is talking about is when I take my foot off my presser foot and the needle stops going up and down, my actual presser foot drops the needle down into the actual fabric, but my presser foot comes up, so it leaves me a gap underneath so I can adjust my fabric or pivot around. It is a game changer. Lynn to it will answer that one for you as well. She basically says it's a game changer as well. Also, if you can get one with an aqua feed, which I have demonstrated on Sewing Street before, means that your top stitching can actually come a bit more neater and more controlled as well. Okay, so I'm just adding the rest of the clips. Yeah, it is like having a third hand. You are right there, Lynn. I thought I didn't need it, but I actually did. And do you know what I can't live without now? So I went to use my embroidery machine just to clean it out and stuff. I basically can't live without the, on my presser foot at the bottom, on my pedals at the bottom, I've actually got a second pedal which is to cut the thread. Can't live without that now. I don't even use that button on the machine. Yeah, you can do it with a knee lift. However, I stand up sewing. A lot of people stand up sewing because it's better for their back. But also, a lot of machines haven't got the room to have a knee lift. Use it, Jill. If you've got a knee lift, use it. It is basically what me and Lynn are talking about. But I can't use it obviously because I'm standing up. And even if I was sitting down at a table, my table leg would be actually physically there where the knee lift is. So I've actually, the only time I use a knee lift is on my industrial sewing machine at my parents' house. Right, so I'm just going to miter this one here, that corner there, and add a clip in. Just going to go back over here, I've just noticed. There you go. Right, so I've got clips all the way around. Now I'm going to sew from this side. Now the way I do it is I just smoosh the bag out of the way, and when I come to these corners here, I make sure my needle is down and then just bring it round and then smoosh this underneath. Now if you're not confident in doing that, because a lot of people aren't, you can sew back from this side. However, you need to top stitch about 1/8 of an inch away where the binding joins the actual gusset. So you're top stitching on the binding 1/8 of an inch away if you're going to do it from this side. But have a go at this side. If you're not liking it, unpick it. Or just carry on, stop the needle, reverse your stitch and then go from the other side. But I'm going to go from this side because H640 is squashable and manageable underneath my sewing machine. I'm going to do 1/8 of an inch away from the binding edge here where the fold is. I'm going to reverse my stitch, but I'm going to up my stitch length to a number 3 now, so I basically get a nice even stitch all the way around. Please may we go to the overhead camera, the front view camera. So I'm trying to focus that. Let me just get that back into focus. Oh, can you get rid of that box there, please?
I didn't do that.
No, I did that. Oh, don't. Click on the. No, click on that X there. Click on that X. Can you just click down the bottom and look for the remote access one, please? No, just bear with me, guys. It's going to show up there. Can't do anything about that, unfortunately. Oh, you can. There you go. Okay, right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Well, if you take a picture on this, it takes a picture and shows it up on the software that I use. So you have to kind of get rid of it, and Michael doesn't understand that, unfortunately. I've never taught you that, have I? So, right, okay, so I'm going to top stitch all the way around. Knock my stitch length up to a number 3. I've smooched the part out the way underneath, and then just going to reverse my stitch at the start and at the end. So I'm just going to adjust underneath again. I'm just going to keep doing that as I go along. And where that mitered corner is, your tailor's awl will come in handy. And what I'm doing is just picking up that mitered corner to make sure it sticks down. Okay, and I'm just going to pivot around that corner. I'm not kidding, this is the last step of this sew along. I'm so happy that, and to be fair, I'm keeping this bag myself because I like the jungle fabric and the zip pulls that I've used. Now I haven't got the best of stitching round. Like I say, if you're very conscious of how it looks, you can hand sew it. My craft bucket bag has got hand sewing binding. You can watch that part of that bag making sew along, and that's how you would finish off the binding if you want to do it that way. You still have to machine sew it on. I'm just pushing that out of the way underneath. Nearly at the end. There you go. Right, so please move over to the overhead camera, and this is the test if it's going to work. If not, we'll have to stay on this camera because let's see. But yes, I think you guys, I'm hoping you guys can see this. Okay. Right, okay, so I'm hoping you guys, I'm just waiting for this to catch up. Yay. Right, okay. So I've top stitched the best I can all the way around. It's not the best of stitching, but it's caught the binding. You're going to turn it right side facing out now, poking out those corners. You're going to get that chopstick from last time, like we did last time, and you're going to run it around the binding inside. When I say chopstick, it's because it's quite blunt at the end. Now there is the strap keeper, and I'm going to quickly run through that. It's quick, easy sew. When I say the strap keeper, that's to hold these two handles into position. So I'm going to get this, and where the binding is, I'm just going to run it inside all the way around. So it just gets those corners out even more for me. And then when you can't get the in, you're just going to stroke it round. And same with this edge as well. Okay, so if you've used an O-ring like I have, you need to pop that on. So I'm just going to get the O-ring. There it is. See, the O-ring that I'm using has got a snap, so it means that I can get it through that loop. Now you might have a D-ring. What I didn't explain to you when we were sewing that last part together is you might want to have pinned that D-ring down so it doesn't come anywhere near the seam here. So let me just slip this on. Okay, stuff the bag out. Now I'm hoping it's bubble wrap. Sorry about the noise. Okay. So stuff the bag out. And the reason why we're stuffing that out is so we can just give it a quick press. So any packaging that you get through the post and that's got bubble wrap in it, save it. Or just add a beach towel into there, or a bath towel. I'm alright because I've used starch, but if you've got creases and you've not used PU, you can go ahead, use your iron and mildly press around those corners to make them crisp, like so. Now I will go around these corners here, however I'm going to get my hand up inside first. Sounds like Michael is on at the snacks. It does actually. No, I know, but the bubble wrap. So I'm going to get my hand up inside and then just basically press that corner out, like so. Once it gets too hot, I'll turn it down. And you just basically do that for all the corners at the bottom, then it means it sits better. And the top ones as well. I love these little irons for this. I was finding that the big iron on my lives was getting just too much in the way. Okay, and then just gonna squash that back down. Okay, so next we need to do it is just quickly make the strap keeper. Now the strap keeper is to keep the handles together at the top, but as you can see there's that bag. Now one question I did get asked, thank you, one question I did get asked is this part here is quite big and quite large. You can actually cut it back, so if you want to cut off on the I think it's the B gusset, let me just have a look. On the B gusset, if you want to trim the B gusset back by 1.5 inches, because then that will basically take you to about here, still makes your D-ring in a comfortable position. What you need to do is do the same for the D, so you need to take 1.5 inches off the D here, and then you also need to take 1.5 inches off the H as well, which is your base gusset. So you need to take 1.5 inches off this part here. I'll bring that 1.5 inches off this side here, not this side here, but this side here. That's to make this part slimmer, and then it'll just make the bag a bit more slimmer. So if you want a slimmer bag, it's fine. However, I've got mine big because later on in the year I'm going to teach you how to use Insole Bright, so you can make it into like a snack bag for picnics. Right, so let's just get making the strap keeper, and then that's the last step. Okay, so you've got your two parts of the strap keeper, and then you've got your interfacing on the wrong sides. On one of them we need to just do a little bit of drawing. So you're going to get your quarters rule, and you're going to draw 1/4 inch boxes. So you're going to do 1/4 inch boxes like so in the 4 corners. Oh, thank you, Princess. Okay, so I've got those, and then you're just going to find something round, a cotton spool. I'm going to use the Norafil, and then you're just going to match up that edge, that drawn line there to that drawn line. You're going to match it up around the curve and just draw that. You're going to do that for all 4 corners. Okay. Then where those corners are, you're going to trim back on that curved line on all of those 4 corners. Okay, then you're just going to pop this on top here and pin it into place, and then you're just going to trim the corners. So that's right side to right side. And then you're just going to trim the corners. Now we're going to move over to using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on this part here when we're on the sewing machine. Okay, so you're going to leave a turning gap on one of the long edges. I'm just going to draw in a turning gap. So between these two lines here, I'm not going to sew. Between those two lines there, I'm not going to sew, but I'm going to sew a 1/4 of an inch all the way around, starting off on one end, one line, and moving around to the second line, and reverse my stitch. Please now we go to the front view camera. Make sure you stitch down for a standard stitch length. So I'm going back down to 2.4, and it's a 1/4 of an inch away from the edge. Reverse your stitch at the start and at the end, and make sure your needle is down when you pivot around that corner. And move those pins. Now we're not sewing over them, but remove them just so you don't stab yourself. Please maybe go to the other camera, please. Okay, and then you're just going to trim back that excess. I'm going to about 1/8 of an inch away from the sewn line all the way around. However, I'm not cutting this part here where the turning gap is. I'm going to leave that turning gap as it is. Cocktail stick, get my fingers up inside, turn it right side facing out. I'm not going to show you how to do snaps. We did that on the very first sew along. However, I'm just going to show you where to snap it and how to attach it to your handle and where to attach it to the handle. Now in the pattern I tell you not to sew the handle keeper on, but feedback from past customers who have made it through sewing quarter said that they needed to attach it to the handle. So you're going to poke that seam up inside those raw edges the best you can, and you're just going to give that a nice little press. Okay, so your top stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and then basically reverse your stitch. Now kind of reverse your stitch around about the centre mark here, because there's a reason for that. Is once you've done that, you need to attach it to the back of the bag. So this is the back of my bag and this is my handle. You're going to just get your handle and lie that in the centre like so. Now you can hand stitch this into place, or if you want to dare it, you can stitch across that line there, reverse your stitch at the start and at the end. That line there here is where we rolled it, the handle on the first series, the first sew along part. So you're gonna like sew across that strip there, make sure it's obviously in the centre. If you're not coping, just basically do a few tack stitches here by hand stitching and a few tack stitches here. Once you've got that into place, now I'm just going to pin mine because I haven't top stitched mine. Ouch. Right, so it should sit in your handle like so. You bring this handle up and pop that like so. Then Then you're going to roll that over and roll that over, and then you can work out where that popper needs to go. So when you actually install your popper, your cam snap, the female part needs to be on this side here and inside, so the cap is on the outside here. And then when it comes to the male part, the male cap needs to be on the inside, and then your male part of the snapper needs to be there. If you're wondering how I eyeball, I just close it up, get my tailor's awl and find the centre, and then just poke a hole all the way through all the layers. And that's how I do the handle keeper. I need that bag in my life. Haha, it's the kid's mom. Please let me go to the front view camera. Okay. Michael's just getting through to the front view camera. Thank you, Michael. Right, so once you've got your handle keeper on and your popper on, that part of the bag's finished. Now you can carry it as it is. Now, like I said in the later on in the year, I'm going to teach you about Insel Bright and Thermal Lamb, so you can make it as a warm bag to keep your warm lunches going back to work, because we are going back to work. Or you can picnic bag, a 2-person picnic bag. Michael, hint hint. Picnics. Right, so it is actually a convertible bag. So you've got 2 straps. Now, I'm not making it in this video. You need to go over to that second video, which is in the description, the link. Either side, you can clip it either side. So you've got a crossbody bag. Now you find it top heavy. You will find it top heavy. But once it's on your crossbody, it's fine. And the straps are long enough for larger women like me, or men. And you can have it across your body, so it holds here and it goes across. Or if you are a large person, let me just close that up. If you're a large person like me, you can do this. Take this strap off, shorten this strap completely, like so. So it's this length. Got the back here. I'm just going to take this pin out because I've already cut my finger on it already. Got this part here where the D-ring is at the top. You clip that bit there where the buckle is, clip it to that, and then you clip this clip here down at this one, so you undo the popper here and clip it here. When you can get it in, there you go. Do the same with the other handle, so it goes on this one. And then obviously you got a backpack, so you have the other strap on. And then if you don't like how it hangs on your back, just get the one strap, and this is what calls for either a large D-ring or a large hoop. You make this strap longer, really long, and then you feed this in here. So I've got a snap, so I can feed this into here like so, and snap that over. So, ugh, I'm gone. It will go in, trust me. I'm gone. There you go. You feed that through the D-ring, so it's like this. Then you bring those 2 swirl clasps down to the bottom. Like so. And then you've got 2 straps. Now I'm quite a large person, this won't fit me. It might do. But if you're a dainty person, oh, it fits. But you got it there. And that's just one strap. So if you only want to make one strap, you can. So it's totally up to you on how you make this bag. yeah, so that's finished. So would you like to see what the next sew along is? Please may we go to the next sew along picture, please. So you need to turn the cameras off. Thank you. That's an eye. That's an eye. There. Right, so we're doing the most wanted pattern. That's the Keep It Together bag. So this sew along is going to start at the end of March. I need a break to catch up on Sewing Street work and my own office, and obviously I'm taking a small little break in between. But this is the Keep It Together bag. Now the Keep It Together bag is an actual brought pattern. It's a 2-part pattern, so you don't have to technically do the complete bag. Now the outer bag on the, I think it's the left, the one with the houses on, is part 1. Is that your left, Michael? Michael, the one with the houses on, is that the left? Or is that the right? That's the left. Sorry, I'm dyslexic, guys. Yeah, right, okay. So that is the part 1, which is the main outer bag. Part 2 is those little pages that you can see on the right hand side of the image. Now that right hand side is where it's got all the the pockets in to organise all your projects and all your zips, all your notions, tools and everything. Please may we go back to the front view camera. Yeah, I'm going to talk about waterproofing. Yeah. No, that's the one camera. Right, so that's the next sew along we're going to do. Now that is going to run over quite some weeks. I've averaged it in my head, that is going to be about a 6 session sew along. Now what I'm saying is, at the moment we've been doing it every other week. There might be a few sessions where it's 1 week after the next, just to catch up and to get to the end. The reason why I'm doing this is that I've got quite a few patterns out now that have no videos, and I need to catch up on those videos. But I don't want to keep my admin here any longer than 8 o'clock at night, which we have gone past, but I will talk about the waterproofing just quickly. But yeah, so that is a brought pattern. You can buy it from rjfmakes.com. It's part 1 and part 2. But like I say, buy part 1, make part 1, and then when you're financially better, buy part 2 and basically make part 2. Or don't make part 2. Part 1 is there so you can basically just carry all your projects in one place, and when you're going to like from upstairs downstairs, or if you're going on sewing retreats, which are opening back up now around the country, around the world. So yeah, I know a lot of people have brought the pattern for Mrs H's bag retreat. Yeah, Mrs H does hold a bag retreat in Wales. So basically, yeah, that pattern is actually coming up. I won't be teaching the binding because we've already done the binding here, and I've already got the videos available on the channel as well. Now, let's quickly talk through the waterproof, and then I'm going to let you go. Please now go to the overhead camera, please, Michael. Right, so if you're in the UK, well, actually, you probably can get it from Amazon around the world, to be fair. I use this stuff. Now, some people say I use Scotchgard. Scotchgard is a waterproofing spray that campers use, and you waterproof your coats or snowboarding salopettes, which is your trousers. I personally think it's so overrated, Scotchgard, because of the price. It's the brand that you're paying for. Now the ingredients that are in Scotchgard are in this brand here. Now this is a cheaper brand. Now this brand is, you can buy like 6 cans for the same price as what one can of Scotchgard is. Now what I tend to do is take my bag outside, don't spray indoors. I spray this at 10 inches away, and I spray the complete whole bag to the point where it's not saturated, but it's got a wet look to it, a mild wet look. Then I leave that bag. I don't touch this. Once I've sprayed it, I do not touch this fabric. All I do is get a little hook, like a coat hanger hook, and hook it on the handle. And I hook that onto a washing line or in a greenhouse for a couple of days. So that's like for 72 hours. Now, some people are saying, oh, it's damp outside. It is damp outside at the moment. So put it in the garage or just in an area where it's a bit ventilated, because this is quite smelly. Once you've sprayed it once, that means it's shower proof. So you can take it out on mild shower rainy days, but I don't mean downpour days. If you want to take your bags out when it's downpoury or snowy, you need to spray it another 2 more times. So once it's dried, go in and spray it again to the point where it looks a bit wet. Then hang it up into that area for another 72 more hours and let it dry. And then go in and spray it 1 more time. Spraying it 1 more time will then basically give it that extra precaution that is needed. Now, technically, you don't really have to do the 3rd spray, but it does say you need to do a 2nd spray. I spray it about 10 inches away from the object or what I'm spraying. Now, some people are saying I'm using waterproof canvas inside. You still technically need to spray that outer fabric if it's not waterproof canvas or wax proof canvas. You still need to actually spray it, because what will happen is a mold will start appearing inside your bag, and that will basically disintegrate your fabric. So you still need to spray it on the outside, even though you've used a lining that is waterproof, because that is quite a common thing with bag making now, is that you can do lining with a waterproof canvas. So my advice is get some of this in and spray. Then it means that you can actually go outside. Now, the next question I know I'm going to get asked is, can you spray vinyl with it? Most vinyls don't need spraying. Most vinyls are waterproof. However, where you have sewn, there is minor little holes. You can't get past that, unfortunately. I do spray it. However, where the hardware is, like the metal hardware, you do get a few drips. So get a light micro cloth or a bit of kitchen towel just to damp that area so it doesn't stain the PU. Now, my advice is, if you're doing PU, you need to have a bit of scrap PU to test, just to make sure it doesn't stain, because some PUs do react to Scotchgard and to waterproofing sprays. Right, please may we go to the front view camera. So this is... Where's that gone? That was a pork. Right, so this is actually from Amazon. I buy 6 for £20. It's a lot cheaper. They're quite big cans as well. They are bigger than the Scotchgard ones as well. So yeah, that's it. So the next sew along is on end of March. I'm going to put the premiere, the actual the reminder screen up in a few weeks, once I've sorted out my diary and sorted out with Michael, because obviously he operates the cameras. How does that spray affect real leather? Now, Princess, real leather you do not spray with this type of waterproof canvas, with this waterproof spray. The bag that you've just made, you need a paste. Now, I can talk about that in the future thing. If you go over to my Instagram, Princess, and you go down to about 4 years ago, there's a post. 4 or 5 years ago, there's a post. There's me putting paste onto the actual leather. Now, that paste is a mink paste. It's not toxic, but it's oily. it soaks into the actual leather, which is what you need. Now this will damage the leather, so don't ever use this type of spray on actual real leather. But because you do need to keep leather conditioned, and the paste will keep it conditioned, you will have to keep redoing it as well. But that's something I can teach later on, if you want me to. If anybody wants to know a bit about leather, I can teach a bit about leather. I've worked with leather for many years now, so, and that's real leather. Right, so thanks ever so much for watching. Michael says thanks for joining him, and he's munching away. He's waving goodbye. I think he wants to play Xbox right now. And I'll let you know when the next sew along is. Thank you ever so much, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.